Halo Infinite may be delayed, but the toys sure aren't. Welcome back, friends. Today we are taking a look at gaming icon Master Chief. Now, packaging for this guy didn't say who made it except for like WCT, which stands for Wicked Cool Toys, but on the actual figure it says like Jazzwares, so I'm a little bit confused by that. I think one company may have bought out the other. I don't know, but what I do know is this Master Chief figure looks awesome! It is based on his appearance in Halo Infinite, which, you know, the armor for Master Chief like changed in Halo 2, and then ever since it's like had subtle variations game through game, but I think canonically it's supposed to be the same since Halo 2, just like with like upgrades and modifications and stuff, but you know, I don't really know. I just know that the armor looks cool, it looks accurate to how it is in the game. Everything on this guy is pretty awesome, and one of the most awesome things is the visor is vac metallized, but we'll get to that. Let's talk about the sculpt first of all. So, pretty much, the sculpt on this guy is awesome everywhere except for the knees. Now, you might be thinking, what's wrong with the knees? They look fine. Well, just bend them, and the knees look pretty awful, honestly. They like, you have like a 2-foot long knee, Master Chief, and your thigh is tiny, and like, I don't know why they put the pegs so far apart. Like, they should have sculpted a piece to be much smaller, and like, see all the extra black plastic above and below the knee guard piece of the armor? Like, it shouldn't exist. Like, the piece of the armor that should just be the length of the joint in the first place. But other than that, the sculpt looks pretty terrific. I mean, it's very, very accurate to the game. Let's see every little like detail in there that should be there. I mean, maybe he doesn't have this peg on the back in the real game, but that's to store weapons, which we'll get to later. Everything looks pretty awesome. Like, even little details like underneath the visor that extends on the helmet, like sculpted lines in there, sculpted lines everywhere. Pretty awesome sculpt. I mean, like, look at the little skin suit underneath, like, got a little texture in there. Oh, and little wrinkles up on the shoulder, sculpted in the part of the suit that's there. Nice, very nice. Now, a lot like the sculpt, the paint has one big, you know, glaring thing that's wrong with it, but I mean, overall, the paint is not as good as the sculpt, I think. So, first, my big issue. This is supposed to be like a blast mark from an explosion. It's supposed to be like a burned, scuffed piece of the armor, and just looks like a big gray tampo they smeared on there. Like, it does not look great. Doesn't look like what it's supposed to. I mean, the decal for the 117 looks pretty nice. That's good there. Little straps up here. They're supposed to be like gray straps, yeah, but the gray just looks kind of blobbed on. I don't know. Well, the biggest thing about the paint that's actually a good thing, vac metallized visor! We haven't seen that since the days of like Joyride Studios for Halo figures. It's been like 15 years since we've had vac metallized visors on Halo figures, so this is pretty amazing. It really takes some Halo fans back. Not that I was around back there, but like, I mean, it is cool to have. I think it really makes the figure pop overall. Now, another thing they did was silver paint. So on the armor parts, there's all this silver paint, which is supposed to be scuff, and it doesn't really look great. Like, it's kind of in illogical places. Like, if your armor gets scuffed, it's going to get scuffed at the outer edges because that's going to contact other surfaces first. And it's like, look at the helmet. It's got scuff marks in the part that would be least exposed to a surface. If you scraped it along something, only the edges would get scraped, obviously. So, like, I mean, it looks okay on the shoulder here, but like, why would the whole flat part of the shoulder get scraped? It'd look a lot better if it was just like edges, I think. Here looks decent there, I guess, but I mean, pretty much on the thighs, like, just looks kind of like they smeared it on without any regard for realism, kind of, to me, and it doesn't quite make it look metallic, which I think is the intent. I mean, thankfully it's at least on the back too, and on the back I think it looks a little bit better because it's a little more subtle, but I just think overall the effect doesn't come off like the way it's supposed to. It just makes the figure look a little plasticky, covered in like silver paint, not like actual scratched metal, because the devil's in the details, and I don't think they got the details quite right. I mean, speaking of which, like, little details, like, you see these little indentations? The bottom halves of them are supposed to be like a dark gray. So it's not correct. They didn't paint those. And then like the little crevice spot in here, in between these little tiny black marks, that's supposed to be black. If you're looking at the render of Chief from Halo Infinite. So I mean, they missed a few little spots of black and dark gray, but I mean, I'm not gonna criticize that. That's like really minor. What I will criticize though is this big old splash of silver paint right here on my skin suit underneath, and the skin suit is like I don't know if it's rubber or whatever, but it's not metal like the rest of the armor, so it shouldn't be scratched metal. So that's obviously just like slop there, not actual intentional paint app. But I mean, the paint, what's black is supposed to be black for the most part, and what's olive green is supposed to be green for the most part. So I mean, they did get it right in terms of accuracy for the most part. I just feel like the execution of silver paint could have been a lot better, and then that thing especially. But I mean, you know, preference will vary. I think this does look decent overall. Just could look so much better if they'd paid attention to the little details and gotten the silver scuff marks just right here and there, I think. And something else with the paint. Why aren't the pegs in there green? Like, look, it's green on both sides. They don't touch black on either side. It's not like Spider-Man where it's like one side is red, one side is blue, and you got to pick either a blue peg or a red peg, and they choose red usually, so there's red on the inside when you look at the blue. But like, look, if they had gone with a green peg, it would have blended so much better. And same thing right there. It's not black on either side. Same thing on the arms. There are no black spots for pegs to match up with anywhere on this figure. Every single peg here should have been green to blend better, but they just like they ignored that for some reason. The devil's in the details, Jazzwares! Anywho, articulation's pretty good, thankfully. Master Chief's head is on a ball joint that can go so far down, so far up. Gets pretty good side to side, I'd say, for, you know, his design with these big things in the way. And you can spin all the way around, but again, the things kind of, you know, they get in the way, but you can do it, and you can even pop it off, but he doesn't come with any alternate head or anything like that. Shoulders are hinge and swivel, go all the way around, and they hinge up above 90 because these are rubber separate pieces that get out of the way. That is very impressive there. Even more impressive, a butterfly joint in there incorporated brilliantly into the design. That is what I'm talking about. And he has swivel biceps, of course, double elbows, and hinge and swivel wrists. Very good articulation. Don't know what more could ask for in the arm there. Now, the diaphragm is kind of weird. Like, this diaphragm doesn't seem to twist much, and it's all really stiff, and like, he can't go so far forwards or back or side to side. He gets a little bit better side to side, but not much really. And then he does seem to have a waist, but can you hear that? Ooh, it ain't going nowhere. I mean, you can get a little bit, but like it's really, it doesn't seem like it's designed to twist. So, I mean, it's not like Master Chief's the most flexible character at the waist in the first place, but I feel like that could have been a bit better. Anyways, hips are on ball joints. He can do the splits that far, which I don't think the real-life Master Chief would be able to do. Now, there is a real-life Master Chief, but you know, if someone were in this armor in real life, they go up so high, which is excellent. Don't really go back. There are cuts at the thighs and the double knees we saw earlier, of course. I don't think they look great, but they do get pretty good range. He can almost kick his own butt. He can kick his own back, that's for sure. And then he has hinge and pivot ankles that get pretty good range, I'd say. They get very good range. Oh, look at that. He can tiptoe around. And then lastly, a toe hinge, which is nice. I mean, I think the only room for improvement would be that diaphragm waist combo thing there, but pretty good overall. The packaging for Master Chief does a pretty good job letting you know it's intended for the collector market. Got a big window box to show off the figure and this weird little angle bit on the side like Mattel would do for their figures in the past, I guess. But I mean, it's still pretty rectangular, pretty stackable overall. On the top it says UNSC, which is the United Nations Space Commandos, I believe. It says the same thing on the side here, although it's pretty hard to read on the camera. It's like sculpted into the bubble packaging there. Left side of the package just says Halo Infinite at the bottom there. And the right side lets you know which figure it is way up at the top, and then we've got the little UNSC logo down at the bottom, I guess. Backside has a picture of the figure and accessories it comes with. MA40 assault rifle, MK50 sidekick, which I guess the handgun, and additional hands. And boy, they're not lying about those additional hands, but I mean, we'll get into all that when we get to accessories. There's pictures of other figures in the wave, but I'm pretty much sticking to Master Chief. I like this packaging, but it comes with a serious problem. So, you open it up on this side, which, first of all, is kind of weird, because you kind of imagine it'd be opened on the angled side, but there's actually nothing there. It's like assembled with like only one fold in it. But that's not my big issue. My big issue is there's tape up at the top here, but that's it. And like, seriously, someone in the store could easily do all this, and like, it's not, like, I didn't have to cut a thing to get it all out. I mean, kind of nice, I guess. It's convenient, but I mean, it's not really, you know, collector friendly, considering like someone unscrupulous could get into it at the store, and like I don't know about that. But anyways, Master Chief doesn't appear to have any twist ties, so we'll just pull him out of his cryo prison, so to speak, by yanking his little feet forward, and it's easy as that. A little too easy to get out of the box in the first place, but I appreciate there are no twist ties. I mean, you should probably look into making it a little more secure. Jazzwares or Wicked Cool Toys, whatever you want to call yourselves now. For accessories, every figure in Series 1, or in the Spartan collection, I guess, I'm not sure, comes with a game add-on. Kind of weird that we got game add-ons, but the actual game we don't have yet because it got delayed, but the figures didn't, obviously, so I guess they were supposed to release alongside the game originally, and anyone who wants that can pretty much have it, because I don't have the game yet, obviously, but I don't really plan to get it either. I just like Master Chief figure, so you want that code, go ahead, put it in. It is my gift to you, but I don't really count that as an accessory for Master Chief. What I do count, though, is his MA-40 assault rifle, which, you know, has some good sculpted details, but I gotta say, the picture on the back of the box makes it look a lot more metallic than what we actually got. It's just pretty much gray and black, but the sculpt is nice. Then it comes with the MK50 sidekick, which is pretty much just a handgun. It's got some green paint apps there. Sculpt on it looks nice, but you know, the thing is, both of these are original to Halo Infinite, and since that game is not out yet, there's really no telling how accurate they are to the game, because obviously the game can change between now and then, so can't really fault them for accuracy, just wish this looked a little more metallic on this one. This one, not so much. I think he gets away with it. Then Master Chief gets 5 hands. He comes packaged wearing sort of trigger fingers on both left and right, but he comes with left and right fists as well, left and right grasping hands, and then this, I guess you call it double trigger finger hand that is only for the left hand for some reason, which I guess is just for like holding the bottom of the assault rifle there, but let's pop them on and actually try to do that. So they seem to pop in and out easy enough. I like that. Then we can try and get the assault rifle in his right hand. You really got to bend the thumb to do it, and his finger's not like exactly in the trigger guard, which just seems to be like hollowed out and doesn't have like a actual guard around the trigger, but you can get the hand on there, and then that one seems to go pretty well on there. So I think he looks pretty good holding it like so. Let's pop some fists on now so we can have it for like melee combat. Yep, looks pretty good with those on. Nothing much to them. Obviously cannot hold the handgun or anything in them. Then he's got grasping hands. I'm not too sure what these would be for, honestly. Except for maybe like feeling things that he shouldn't be feeling, I guess. The normal trigger finger works great with the sidekick handgun, although the tip of the finger just barely gets inside the guard there. Also works pretty well with the double finger left hand there. I mean, this could be kind of his, you know, finger off trigger kind of pose, like he's being safe, like you should be with guns. Now, when it comes to storage options, these little panels on the sides of Master Chief's thighs actually pop out right here, and you can flip them around to reveal little pegs. And you're like, well, what's the point of that? Well, you don't want to have the peg showing when, like, if there's nothing attached to it, but when there is something attached to it, like this little handgun here, you can find a little hole on it and just push it on, and looks pretty great, because like in the Halo series, it's always like attached to his thighs and his back magnetically, but I'm going to put little magnets in the toy. So it doesn't really pop off easily. I just kind of flicked it, you know, the wrong way. It comes out easily when you're pulling it, but it doesn't look like it's just going to fall out. So it functions pretty good, but in terms of looks, it looks great from the side. From the front though, like you're going to see a little bit of a peg, but then I think the real issue is when you pop the little panel back in, it's not 100% flush. Like you can see it over there, like it's a tiny little gap at the edge, which I guess is so you can pry it out easily enough, but I feel like, you know, we would have done it anyways, so I wish it would just push in a little more flush, because like how close it is at the bottom there and how much of a gap there is at the top kind of drives me nuts. Drives me nuts. But you can put either gun, either peg right there, although that looks kind of odd, obviously. You can do it, and then he has a peg on the back. Now, unlike the ones on the thighs, this one does not come out and flip around, although, you know, it's much less of an eyesore than the ones on the thighs if the pegs are sticking out, so I don't think it's really necessary. I guess it does look like a separate piece. I guess they just, you know, glued it on there so you couldn't flip it around, but you can pop the handgun on the back there, and that works fine, but the battle rifle, well, assault rifle, the, you know, MA-40 assault rifle thing, whatever it is, it's new to Halo Infinite, so don't judge me. I'm used to battle rifles and assault rifles and have so many different ones back in the old Halo games. That fits on there. That looks great like that. So they pretty much nailed it on accessories as far as I'm concerned. I mean, we got 2 guns, a bunch of hand options, and I like the little sides that come out of the thighs so that we have the option to store them there. I mean, it could be implemented like a tiny bit better, but what we got is very, very good. I mean, personally, the only thing I kind of wish we got was like the energy sword, because the energy sword just looks so cool. But I realize there's a ton of weapons in Halo, and they can include everything with just this one little release of Master Chief. Good job on accessories, Jazzwares, Wicked Cool Toys, whatever you want to call yourself. For the scale, a Master Chief stands a hair over 7¼ inches, or about 18½ centimeters tall, which means he actually fits in pretty perfectly with 6-inch scale superhero figures, because Master Chief is supposed to be like 7 feet tall in the Halo canon, so if this looks out of scale to you, that's something to keep in mind. Now, one more comparison I did want to make, friends, is to my previous favorite Master Chief figure from McFarlane Toys, depicting him in his Halo 2 armor. And I gotta say, the scale pretty much kicked the old one's butt, but we'll say this for McFarlane, like, I think they got the paint a bit better. Like, look at the paint in comparison to the new one. Like, yeah, the visor looks a lot better, being an actual vac metallized gold, but everything else, like the armor, doesn't it look like actual metal on the McFarlane one? Like, look, there is silver in there, and it's like spattered about, like, you know, to make it look like it's got actual detail in there rather than just being like brushed on like an actual paintbrush. Like, I can actually see like brush strokes in the armor on the silver here, and just in general, looks like metal, looks like plastic. And look, they even got the little black inner detail right in there in the chest piece there, which, I mean, this is even smaller. So, I mean, what's your excuse, Jazzwares? This was way smaller and they could do it. I mean, it's just, I think the paint was a lot better, but other aspects, this guy does kick the old ones, but I think I am ultimately going to recommend this figure, friends. While the knees may look terrible, I think for the most part, the sculpt and the articulation are pretty excellent, and we get like the perfect amount of accessories. What really like would kill it for me is like the paint. But I mean, hey, if you're a customizer and you want to like custom paint this guy, then definitely get him 100%. But even with the issues I have with the paint, I'd still recommend him because I think this is a really cool Master Chief figure, and he is a gaming icon. So I'd say go out and get him, add him to your collections, and until next time, peace out, YouTube.